Ayo, what's up, guys? So, Sequin Kosi back with the Funky Fight Flow podcast, episode number 3. Realized I didn't check my mic or my camera or anything, but hey, everything looks to be working. So, yeah, a little update on our situation and everything. Still got some shitty quality because, like, Louisiana is currently falling the fuck apart. They shut down the highway. Like, it's impossible. I live in Vinton. Cannot drive down the road to Starks right now because it's fucking flooded. There's some crazy shit going on right now. But, yeah, dude, it's just my life. So today I'm going to talk about Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt. This is going to be a really interesting fight. Like, if you're a fan of fighting, bro, you're going to be a fan of this fight because it's two very, very elite boxers with very good weapons. And so people say it all the time, styles make fights, and the style of these two fighters is what's going to make it such a good fight. Like, the odds of this not ending by knockout, like, that's a sucker's bet. Straight up, I'm willing to bet this fight is 100% going to end by TKO. So, I'm going to go ahead and start breaking down the fighters, and I'm going to start with Rob Font. So, one of the really, really good things that if you've watched any of Rob Font's fights that you're going to see is Rob Font's jab. It's on point. He fights behind a very educated jab. He's got a very educated lead hand. And he uses it to get people to slip and move, try to get away from the jab, and then he sees where your head's going, and he's going to catch you with another shot after that, like a dude in the Ricky Simone fight, the Thomas Almeida fight, like literally any fight where he scored a TKO. Almost all of his knockouts come from people moving their head, trying to get away from the jab, and then he catches them with their right hand. So that's a very, very important weapon. That's going to be really interesting to see in the Cody Garbrandt in that fight, because we have never seen someone try to approach Cody Garbrandt and shut Cody Garbrandt's offense down with the jab. And so it's definitely possible, because they're going to be it's going to be a boxing match. I really do feel like there's going to be a lot of boxing exchanges, and it's very hard to win in boxing exchanges if you are getting out jabbed. Because if I'm using my jab and I'm controlling the distance, I'm going to be able to get you to react, and then now you're a step behind. You're going to have to look to counter my jab while I'm already ahead of you. But Cody Garbrandt has such fast and explosive hands that it's like, if you stand close enough to Cody Garbrandt to jab him for an entire fight, like, you're going to get countered. That's like saying if you stand on a highway, you're going to get run over by a car. Like, it's going to happen, because the way Cody Garbrandt fights is he tends to fight on the back foot now a little more. But as people chase him, he'll be backing up and he stops. He'll come forward, he'll cut you off, he'll throw 3 or 4 punches really fast, then he'll reset, he'll go to the outside, and he'll wait for you to come in again, and then he'll step in with punches again. He'll throw 3 or 4 punches, and then he'll back out again. So one of the really important things that's going to be very pivotal for Rob Font in this fight is going to be that he's going to have to control distance. And that's something that he's already really good at doing. Rob Font is phenomenal at controlling distance. I just realized that the AC is on right now. I'm going to go turn that shit off. Alright, and we're back. So, there was some droning in the back of the video, like a mrrr. I'm sorry, but, like, fight me. I'm not about to re-record all that. So, we were talking about Rob Font, his jab, and how distance control is going to be very pivotal for him to win this fight. So, yeah, Rob Font is already very, very good at controlling distance. He's got a very good jab, and he uses a really good long guard. Rob Font likes to stand in front of people and jab and get them to move, and then when they come forward, he'll either completely back out, or he's looking to open up that counter and then put the right hand down the middle. But one of the things that I do think is going to be a bit of a liability for Rob Font is that he really is not the best counter puncher. Rob Font, he does his best work when he's moving forwards, when he's pressuring and he's coming forward. Like, if you watch the John Lineker fight, he had good footwork. He did a good job of not allowing John Lineker to simply pin him against the cage and working with punches like John Lineker always does. But because he was on the back foot so much and he wasn't really setting up counter shots, he would only throw like 3 or 4 counters, around, really. Like, he caught Lineker with a few good punches, but none of them were solid, and he just simply did not have a high enough output to beat John Lineker, because he was always on the back foot and he wasn't throwing anything. So if if Cody Garbrandt wants to win this fight, that's going to be one of the things that he's definitely going to have to work to do. He's going to have to put pressure on Rob Font and make Rob Font walk backwards, make Rob Font, or just play to one of the weaknesses that we already know that Rob Font has. That'd be a very smart thing for Cody Garbrandt to do. But unfortunately, that's not something that Cody Garbrandt really does. Cody Garbrandt's very much a counter puncher. Like, if you watch the T.J. Dillashaw fights, the way that T.J. Dillashaw knocked Cody Garbrandt out was by he would linger in the pocket for just a bit too long and wait for Cody Garbrandt to throw counters, and then he would slip his counters and try to come over the top or try to catch him down the middle as Cody Garbrandt stepped in. Pedro Munoz did the same thing. So whenever Cody Garbrandt does move forward, he moves forward with those combinations and those punches. And what Pedro Munoz was able to do was instead of sitting in the pocket like T.J. Dillashaw did and waiting to counter those punches, what Pedro Munoz did was he started to counter Cody Garbrandt's forward movement. Because whenever Cody Garbrandt moved forward, he would move forward and he would throw punches. So all that Pedro Munoz did was step out to his left and throw the overhand right as Cody Garbrandt came in, and he clipped him a few times really well with that, and ended up putting Cody Garbrandt out. So that would be something that Rob Font could use very well, but unfortunately, it's just not something that we've seen him do in the past. I'm not saying he won't do it in this fight, because if he watches fight film and he's a smart person, then like he could definitely pick up on that and he could definitely use that. But it's just not a tool that we've seen Rob Font use in the past. And from my experience of watching fights, which I've only had I've had around 4 years of experience, and in my experience, if you have not seen someone use tools consistently in fights before, usually they're not gonna come out and use tools like that. Like, for instance, oh my God, Cody Garbrandt's jab. Cody Garbrandt has a very, very good jab. However, he doesn't. You don't see it a lot. So recently, he's kind of been using the low calf kick to find range, because he doesn't. Cody Garbrandt is not someone who likes to feel his way into the pocket. When Cody Garbrandt's moving, he's fucking moving. Like, he's coming forward and he's gonna throw 3 or 4 punch combinations, and fast too. Like, whenever I was watching film on Cody Garbrandt, I regularly had to go and hit the slow-mo button and slow down just so I could see what punches he was throwing. Because, like, I'd see him throw a left hook, and then he'd throw 3 or 4 punches after that, and I'd only see the first punch, and I'd see him pop, 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 and then step out of the pocket, and it's like, what the fuck did this man just throw? So, and that's another reason that distance control is going to be so pivotal for Rob Font, because when you're fighting someone who has faster hand speed than you and who is more... I'm willing to bet that Cody Garbrandt is the harder puncher in this fight, because I've seen him put more people out in way faster time than I've seen Rob Font put people out. I'm not saying Rob Font doesn't hit hard and that Rob Font can't knock Cody Garbrandt out, because he definitely can. Like, both of these fighters can knock each other the fuck out within 2 seconds of the first round. So if you're a fan of fighting, man, you're a fan of this fight, bro. If I look a little giddy or a little happy while I'm talking about this, it's because this is literally one of those fights. Like, when I saw that this fight was going to happen, bro, I got a little giddy. I'm like, what? Like, I was looking through UFC Fight Pass to see what my next video was going to be on, and I saw that Cody Garbrandt and Rob Font were fighting this Saturday, and I was like, what? Fuck yeah, this is going to be an awesome fight to break down. So, damn, what the fuck was I talking about at this point? So yeah, Rob Font is going to have to control distance. He's going to have to be able to keep Cody Garbrandt on the outside, to use his jab, and to move forward, and then also, if Rob Font does knock Cody Garbrandt out, I feel like he's going to knock Cody Garbrandt out as Cody Garbrandt moves into stepping with his combinations, because one of the very good things about establishing an early jab and controlling the fight with a jab is that it puts you in control of the distance and the range, so that whenever someone steps in, if I'm jabbing you, okay, and I touch you with my jab, then I know how far you are from me. Then I know at what range I can hit you. So he's going to if Rob Font goes out there and establishes his jab early and controls the range he's going to be able to predict when Cody Garbrandt moves in. He's going to know the range, and he's going to be able to throw that right hand down the middle a lot better, the way you've seen him do in a lot of his other fights, So if Rob Font wants to win this fight, he's going to have to control the distance, he's going to have to establish his jab, and he's going to have to generate forward pressure and get Cody Garbrandt to back up. So getting Cody Garbrandt to back up isn't the hardest thing in the world. What's dangerous is when you're moving forward against Cody Garbrandt and then he backs up, stops, and then cuts you off and comes forward. That's when you've seen Cody Garbrandt score a lot of his knockouts. And like for instance against Dominic Cruz, that was instead of chasing Dominic Cruz like a lot of people did, the way Cody Garbrandt won that fight is by simply attacking Cody Garbrandt, or it was by attacking Dominic Cruz when Dominic Cruz came to him. Like he wouldn't chase Dominic Cruz down and try to close distance. He would wait, he would bide his time, and then when Dominic Cruz came in towards him, Cody Garbrandt would move in to meet him. You know, he would counter the forward movement. And Dominic Cruz is one of those fighters who he has very good head movement, he has very good footwork, he has very good ring craft. In those regards, he's a very good boxer. However, he doesn't really throw the most technically correct punches, and it leaves him in positions to get hit. And so when he does get hit, Dominic Cruz rarely does get hit because of footwork, because of his good footwork. But when he gets hit in the bad positions he puts himself in, he takes a lot of damage. And that's one of the things that Cody Garbrandt was able to take very good advantage of. He would just wait for Dominic Cruz to come to him, and then would cut Dominic Cruz off and come forward and catch him. And like that's kind of one of the crazy things about this sport is, like, you know, sometimes fighters can be completely different from fight to fight. Like Cody Garbrandt looked at the most technical, smartest fighter in the world for those 25 minutes when he was dominating the dominator Dominic Cruz, and then just goes out in his next 3 fights and he's just like, I'm gonna come forward and hit people really hard, and it just didn't work out for him. But I already kind of transitioned over to Cody Garbrandt before saying I was going to. But now that I talked about what Rob Font has to do to win and Rob Font's important weapons, I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about Cody Garbrandt. So, Cody Garbrandt's, like, one of the things that obviously stands out about Cody Garbrandt is his power and his hand speed. He doesn't really use a good jab, and he doesn't do a good distance of controlling range, because instead of using a good jab or using, boxing fundamentals to control the distance, he tends to just kind of move backward and wait for fighters to come to him and then step forward and throw punches when fighters are in range. The problem with doing that is if he doesn't fully have the range, if he doesn't fully have the range, if he's not controlling the range and Rob Font is controlling the range, then he's going to find it very hard to step in with those combinations as Rob Font, or he's going to find it very hard to connect with those combinations, because Rob Font's going to use a very good long guard. He's going to be using his jab to create distance and range and control it, and he's going to be, whenever Cody Garbrandt comes forward with those 3 or 4 punches and Rob is able to predict that, you're going to see him basically just use his long guard to get out of those positions. Cody Garbrandt has developed a good low calf kick game. We saw that in his last fight with Rafael Assunção, which he kind of uses not really to control range and distance, but to predict range and distance. Like, he knows, okay, if I can hit you with the low calf kick, then I can step in and I can hit you with this right hook, or I can step in with the jab and then shift over and then find this right hook to kind of use shifts and footwork to close the distance, to put off those explosive combinations. And he does that all the time. Once again, I feel like I've said it like a million times, but as people come in, he moves in to step them. And a lot of times he uses a lot of shifts. He uses a lot of shifts and good footwork to get into the range to fire those combinations. His only problem is, once he steps in the pocket and throws these combinations, they're fast and they're precise, and if you get hit, it is going to suck, but he does leave a lot of openings. For instance, like when he knocked out Rafael Assunção, great finish, very good fight, but to me it didn't really show that Cody Garbrandt learned what he needed to learn, because he was still he was more technical, he was more patient, and because of that, he scored a really good knockout. But he still dropped his left hand a lot. He still blitzed in whenever he was looking to attack or to land heavy shots, and he wasn't the most defensively responsible. Like, if you watch that buzzer beater KO when he knocks Rafael Assunção out, literally as the bell rings, you see that his left hand was still low. He came up really high. He was postured really tall and kept his chin square and came across. And because he was so fast, his right hand got to Assunção's jaw before Assunção's left hand got to his jaw. And he was faster, he was stronger, he had better physical attributes, and that's why he scored that knockout. But Assunção was throwing a good counter punch. He was throwing a very good, not a left hand, he was throwing a very good counter right hand as Cody Garbrandt came up. Cody Garbrandt was simply faster, and he blasted, dude, starched the fuck out of Rafael Assunção. Dude, I remember watching that live at B-Dubs and was like, oh, fuck. Anyway, so, dang, lost my train of thought again. Not gonna lie, I'm still a little hungover, man. Your boy, look, I have a smaller channel, so I can say dumb shit like this for now. Okay, I'm definitely 100% a fan of tequila now. Like, I had like 2 little tequila mixed drinks the other day, bro. Was at like 9 o'clock maybe when I got back from work. Was literally drunk until 12 the next morning. But like, hey, look, mom, if you're watching this, don't judge me, man. I still love you. But yes. Going back to Cody Garbrandt, and we're no longer talking about tequila. Going back to Cody Garbrandt and his combinations. So what I think Cody Garbrandt's going to have to do to win this fight is he's going to have to find a way to shut down Rob Font's jab. Whether that means countering over the top with overhand rights is as he steps in, or simply going southpaw to take away that jab with his lead hand, which once again is not something that we see Cody Garbrandt do very often. So in my experience, when you haven't seen someone use certain tools in fights prior, they're probably not going to come out and use those tools, even if it would be to their advantage, because it's just styles make fights, and that's just not Cody Garbrandt's style. So honestly, I think I've kind of gone over all the key pivotal things that Cody Garbrandt and Rob Font are going to have to do to win. So, well, just one last time, just recap what I think Cody Garbrandt's going to have to do to win. He's going to have to shut down Rob Font's jab, because every time someone's beat Rob Font, it's been because they shut down Rob Font's jab. If you watch the Rafael Assunção fight, every time that Rob Font stepped in with the jab, Rafael would parry that jab, and then he'd come over the top with the right hand. He didn't do a lot of head movement. He would either parry and come over the top with the right jab, or as Rob Font stepped in with the jab, he would throw punches with Rob Font as well. With Cody Garbrandt's current, he started using the low calf kick very well. He used it to control in distance range. He could try to just wobble Rob Font and just go to that lead leg a lot with that calf kick and make it hard for Rob Font to pump out that jab and set up his offense. So that's, I don't really see that happening in the fight, but he definitely could do that. He could definitely go to the calf kicks to make it harder for Rob Font to pump out that jab, make it harder for Rob Font to start the rest of his offense. But I don't see that tool being that pivotal in this fight. So he's, once again, to win, Cody Garbrandt's gonna have to shut down that jab, but he's gonna have to get Rob Font moving backwards, which is definitely something he can do with his power, his speed, and his combinations. He could 100% push Rob Font and put Rob Font on the back foot to where Rob Font doesn't really throw a lot of counters, and he's just looking to keep Cody Garbrandt off him in a circle off the fence. So for Rob Font to win, he's going to have to move forward. He's going to have to establish an early jab. He's going to have to control the distance and not allow Cody Garbrandt to cut him off and step in with his hard combinations. And for Cody Garbrandt to win, he's going to have to get Rob Font moving backwards. He's going to have to shut down that jab and establish a lot of heavy pressure on Rob Font. So one of the great things about this fight, I love fights where the thing to do for both people is going to be to move forward and be aggressive, because that tells you that this fight's going to take place at a much closer range than most fights. Like, I don't expect them to go out there and be picking all their shots and be very distanced. That, as you see a lot of strikers, like, I don't expect this to be like a Stephen Wonderboy or a Valentina Shevchenko fight. I expect this to be a very close, like, in the pocket Vanderlei Silva fight. So it's just going to be really cool to watch. So for my prediction, honestly, so I say this all the time, the way that I predict fights is I look at how strengths and weaknesses match up against each other. And I feel like Rob Font's strengths match up better against Cody Garbrandt's weaknesses than Cody Garbrandt's strengths match up against Rob Font's weaknesses. I feel that if Rob Font goes out there, controls the range really well, and uses his jab, then it's simply going to be very hard for Cody Garbrandt to step in and fire these 3-4 punch combinations and connect on Rob Font if he's not able to get to Rob Font in the first place, because Rob Font is controlling the distance. So my prediction for this one is gonna have to be Rob Font via TKO. Yeah, dude, that's my prediction. That I think Rob Font's gonna win via TKO once again within the first 3 rounds. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, man. So with that being said, that was the Funky Fight Flow podcast, episode number 3. And I'll see you guys later, man. Thanks for all the love and support, and peace out.